live and direct from anywhere in the world. It's The Kelly Show with Dr. Kelly Mondesire.
Hey, welcome back to The Kelly Show, real people with real stories in real time. And I'm just back from sunny Southern California. And I'll say this, sometimes the best laid plans that you make just don't work out the way you thought. So, okay, we're going to take it to a video that'll give you a little bit of a tease of where I was in California and the journey. Kirsty, take it away. So, after my adventure in Southern Africa with a bike that was way too big for me, and it was a metric, I had never ridden that type of bike before, I had no proper equipment for off-road motorcycling, I decided to enroll in an off-road motorcycle school to learn how to ride this type of bike. I had all the equipment. I drilled these people, interviewed them, all kinds of questions, but I did stress one thing. I'm 5'2.5". Okay. I have an inseam of 28 at best. I said, is this bike going to fit? Am I going to be able to have my feet on the ground? Yeah, sure. Great. It's a BMW approved off-road adventure motorcycle school. So I said, all right, I'm safe. I'm in great hands. So I go out to California and I get to in the middle of nowhere. Okay. I mean, honest to goodness, it's the middle of nowhere in California. And there's this huge dirt road, gravel, ravines. Oh my gosh, it's twisty, windy, go off like the edge here if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm getting a ride in an SUV, and I get to Rawhide Adventures Off-Road Motorcycle School. So let's take it to tape because I want everyone to see what this type of motorcycle adventure school looks like. Let's roll it. All right, so welcome to Rawhide. This is my off-road motorcycle school. A whole bunch of bikes lined up down there. I understand there are 11 of us this weekend, and there are 3 different levels of riders. And I'm feeling pretty good about this. And look, there's even a windmill here. And I already checked about, are there snakes and cougars and all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's good. And now I'm gonna go meet the mechanic. So this is my room. I'm checking in. This is Rawhide Riding School. And this is really great. Look, there's a living room here. One of the guides sleeps in the living room. There's another room, another bedroom, kitchen, and view of the San Bernardino Mountains. And I'm really excited. I know I'm in good hands. And I'm gonna settle in, washer dryer, isn't that nice? Gonna settle in and then go see the bike. All right. Okay, so it was Friday at noon. Oh, yippee zippy. And we were all going to check out our bikes. And I saw a whole line of these BMW bikes. And I was looking for my little bike that was going to fit for my size. And there were several of us taking the orientation class to get us acclimated to the bikes we would be riding for the next 2 days. Well, bike number 11 had my name on it, Kelly. And what was it? It was a BMW GS 1300. And for anybody that knows on off-road bikes, that is an extremely large bike. And when I found out that I was going to be assigned this bike, the same bike as everybody else, mind you, everybody else was at least 5'9" and taller, I let out one sob. And I said, oh my God, this is Africa all over again. And I said to myself, Kelly, don't cry. Because if you cry now, you might as well get on the next plane home. This is school. They'll figure it out. There's got to be a way we can work this out. So let's roll it to tape because I want to introduce you to the bikes and my bike that I was going to be assigned to for the next 2 days.
All right, so this is going to be my best friend for the next few days. This is a, I don't know, what are we riding here? This is an R1300 GS made by BMW. And, yep, we're going to be best friends.
Well, of course, because my fat boy at home is the bad boy, okay? The only short man I've ever been in love with, okay? However, every bike has its name. If you're a rider out there, every bike has its name. So my bike, being a BMW, he became Benny the Bike. So Benny and I became very intimately attached. Okay, well, everybody else was rolling the bike back and forth. Miss Kelly here spent over 3 hours, day one, trying to just get on the bike, and my feet were hanging in the air because I couldn't reach. I was like, no way. I mean, my toes didn't even reach the ground on this bike. And they tried everything, and they didn't want me to stand on the pegs to get on the bike because they said, bend the knee and you get the bike and go like this and like get the bike up and lean on one side and blah, blah, blah. All right, you get a bike up. I couldn't even get my leg up that high. I'd have to get it up to shoulder length high to get my leg over. And at one point, one of the coaches was just pulling my foot over the seat. And mind you, when you're sitting on the bike, it's like being on a horse. These seats are really wide on these bikes. So Benny and I, we became very familiar with the dirt ground. Dirt on our faces, and this is my story about my first intimate relationship with Benny the Bike. Let's roll it.
Hey Benny, this is Benny the Bike. Benny is a very tall dude, and it took all day long to be able to get on Benny, get the kickstand up and down, and balance the bike because I have no leverage. I'm too short. So, we didn't go anywhere. But, hell, man, tomorrow's another day. Say hello to Benny, everybody. Benny, say hi back. This is a very, very cool bike. I'll tell you one thing. By Sunday, I'm going to be rocking and rolling on this bike. Everybody here at Rawhide is amazing, amazing. Top draw, trainers, patience of a saint. And man, they pulled out all the stops for me today. So kudos to Rawhide Adventures here in California.
Okay. Now, there's one thing I have to say for a hot shower at the end of a day when you're riding on dirt and gravel and this and this and this. You really appreciate a shower. And after seeing the video that I shot, I didn't realize I had absolutely so much dirt on my face. But guess what? As much dirt as I had on my face and my body, Benny shared the pain and the joy with me, because when I had a tuck and roll, Benny just fell. Poor Benny. I kept saying, oh my God, poor Benny, poor Benny. But it was, oh man, it was something else. And they had these flies that were indigenous to this area of California, and they had special bug spray and bug cream for this particular kind of fly. And in the aftermath, 2 weeks later, to the date of doing this recording for y'all, I still had the welt from these bug bites. It was the craziest thing. So not only was it like 98 degrees out and you have like all this dirt in your face, you got all these bugs and flies. So this was the recap of day one. Let's take it away.
Okay, so it's the end of the day here. It was like in the 90s, and I had all this gear on. I'm soaking wet before I jump in the shower. There's like a gazillion bugs here. I feel like Pigpen. Anyways, it was once again just like Africa, where the bike is too high for me. Benny, this is Benny the bike. Benny couldn't reach the ground, couldn't reach the kickstand, and we literally spent about 3-4 hours today getting Miss Kelly here to be able to get the bike upright and get the kickstand up and down. So tomorrow, I'm actually going to try to rehearse, do that all over again, and damn these bugs, and get going somewhere. At least get going into this corral here and going around and around and around. And hopefully when I stop, I can stop someplace like flat, like in Africa, and manage to get the kickstand back down. So that's what tomorrow is going to be. And hopefully Sunday I'll be rocking and rolling on this thing. Next time I rent the bike anywhere, I'm asking for kitty size for a 12-year-old. All right, over and out, and I got to go take a shower. All right, see ya.
Okay, so after Friday afternoon, everybody showered down. There's nothing like a nice cold shower and scrub a dub in the shower and get all the dirt off. But I have to say, Rawhide is amazing because they realized they had a person who's of small stature, and I'm not a professional. I'm not putting one foot on the bike, rolling into first and swinging my leg over. That's not happening because I can't reach to swing the leg over. But anyways, everybody came in, and there were 3 different levels of riders in the academy. They were in 3 different groups, and we all gathered for a night, an orientation night. We all introduced ourselves, what our ride was, our experience, what we do in life. And it was a great, great, great group of people. And we had dinner, and their chef is a graduate of Le Cordon Bleu. So we had amazing breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And of course, I couldn't eat breakfast or lunch because I was just like too stressed. And you don't want to be tucking, rolling, falling all day long and eating. It's just, you just doing too much of this. So anyways, so we would gather together, and we would talk about the day and our experiences and this and this. But the next day, which was Saturday, everybody else went out because, of course, they could go around in the little paddock. They were already doing their figure eights, and Miss Fancy Pants here, I couldn't get the bike going because I couldn't get the bike upright. So they gave me my own coach, and his name is Chris. And I have to tell you, he was a saint. In, I'd say, about an hour or so, Chris figured out how I was able to get myself on the bike, get the bike upright, and go and start riding into the paddock and start going around and going around. And I'll let Kirsty show you what happened.
All right, so today I had a new coach, Chris, who is my hero. And within just about an hour, he got me to a point where I could get on the bike and get it straight and get going. And so this corral here today was my playpen, and he actually got me to stand on the bike, do figure eights, change directions, and try to figure out where to park the bike so that I could have one foot flat on the ground while getting the kickstand down, which has been the nemesis. These bikes are all way too big for me, and there's nothing I can do about it, so I just have to work with what I have. So if you see that nice rock there, yes, I hit that rock today doing that heinous right hand turn, because then I saw this truck, but we got over that, and I will live to see another day. And I can't say enough about Rawhide Adventures, because these people did not give up on me, and I am learning how to ride an adventure bike that's really way too big for me. So can't grow any taller any time faster, so just gonna do what I do. Alrighty, over and out.
So have you ever hit a rock that's about this big when you're riding an adventure bike? I did. I have to tell you, oh man, oh, poor Benny. Anyways, So I finally was able to slow the bike down enough when I saw a groove in the dirt where the tire could go into the groove. I had just enough to get one foot down to be able to, oh, by the way, be able to reach the kickstand, okay, which was another challenge. It's like Africa, reaching the kickstand, getting the kickstand down and up. But Chris got me to do it. And so then I was so happy. I was so thrilled. I was so stoked because we were going to start to play follow the leader into the hilly, grassy area and go around trees and this and that and the other thing, other rocks, like what everybody else did day one. So it was basically a whole day behind everybody else. But that was fine by me because what am I supposed to do? You know, I mean, at that point, everybody said the bike is just too big for you. You know, it was just too big. However, this is what happened.
So today, I actually started off in the paddock there where these guys are coming into, and I did some of the trail up there by the trees, and everything was kind of like hunky-dory until I fell one time too many, and my MCL is a little stitchy, so I'm taking a break until after lunch. I'm going to see how I feel, and even if I go back to the paddock, that's okay. And the folks are coming in right now, and you can't believe what these people are doing. They're all the way, some of them up there in the hills, coming down those big hills, and we're going to break for lunch. This has been quite the experience, and I can't say enough for my coach Chris and the whole team at Rawhide have been nothing but stellar. This has been an incredible experience. So kudos to everybody here.
So I'm not going to tell you what happened on Sunday morning just yet. However, what I want to show you folks is what some of the guys were doing. There was another woman on the tour that was doing the class, but at one point I ended up on the course riding pillion behind Chris, and this is some of the stuff that these guys were doing, just to give you an idea of what off-road adventure motorcycling actually is. So we're gonna play two small segments to just give you a taste of what this experience was like. Let's go to it.
That's your third or fourth time. Okay. His third time. He did good. He did the engine braking. Was good, and the front brake was good. Whatever you want, engine brake or front brake.
So what I'll do is
We're gonna move.
You want somebody to stay up here or no?
Yeah, we're gonna go down across, and we're gonna do like 3 waves. Coming up.
Actually, you know what? Well, I gotta be down there in the top. I was just, actually, you go down there. I'll skip you, but I gotta be down here. You want to stay up here? I'll go down.
Okay, so the reason now why I was riding pillion on Chris's bike Sunday afternoon was because Sunday started out hunky-dory, okay? We were going to go into the grassy area and play follow the leader. I was going to follow Chris. Great, perfect. So we went around in the corral. I did my figure eight, said hi to the rock, didn't hit anything. I think maybe I only dropped the bike once by that time, only that morning. I had already dropped the bike about 10, 11, 12 times. I don't know. I remember around 18, and then I lost count over the course of 2.5 days. But however, I digress. So Chris took me into now this big kind of like little hairy, grassy, it was like long hair, area that had rocks, it had trees and this and that. And of course, you know, the first time we go around the tree, what do I look at? I look at the tree. When you're riding a motorcycle, you have to look where you want to go, which is why I hit the rock, because I looked at the rock instead of making the right-hand turn. So when I saw this tree on like a little bit of a sharp turn, I looked at the tree, and of course, I dropped the bike before I hit the tree, and okay, like get up, all right, whatever. And so then, we're going around, you're in these little grooves, and the bike is going, and then you're going up the little hill, and it's going, like this. It's just what it is. And you're standing on the bike this entire time. You're not in the saddle, you're not sitting, so you're standing, okay, which actually feels better than sitting. So we're going around, and I'm like, yay, yippee zippy, I kind of like got this going on. And then all of a sudden, one of the groups comes into this grassy area, and their leader comes over to Chris, who's in front of me, and he stops going down a hill, like this little incline, this grassy incline with dirt and this and that and the other thing. I don't think he thought about it, but there was no place for me to put the tire in any kind of groove or incline on one side, and I had to stop the bike behind him. And of course, my feet are hanging up in the air. So boom, down I go. And I felt a little hard because I wasn't expecting him to stop. And of course, nobody in the other class that came into this little area saw the good stuff I had been doing all morning long. They see Dodo Head here falling on the bike again. So they say, oh, you okay? They get the bike up. And I said, you stop. You had no place to go. And like, oh, and this and that and the other thing. And so they say, okay, well, they need this area for their portion of the class. We'll go back into the paddock and do the figure eights and this, which was fine by me by that time. Okay. So, all right, cool. So they say to me, one guy's hanging on to the bike because I'm like, my feet are hanging up in the air. They say, okay, go right here. Okay, go right here and go into the paddock. So I said, okay, easy, right? Yeah, easy peasy. And you got all this high grass. So I go exactly where they tell me to go. And guess what? Nobody saw 3 rocks in a row hidden in the grass. And the side of the tire goes bang, bang, bang. And Kelly goes boom, boom, boom. And of course, I'm talking and I'm rolling, but this takes an awful lot out of you. I mean, it takes the wind out of you. And so I'm like, oh, man, these people are seeing me falling twice in like less than 5 minutes now. And I'm like, all right, screw them. I don't really care. I'm going in the paddock. So then I go in, they get the bike up again. They're like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I think that was 18 at this point. I lost count. So I'm like, I'm going in the paddock. So I go in the paddock to mind my own beeswax. And at that point, my glove the sweat was actually coming through my leather glove. And you have to remember, as big as this bike was to sit on, I had to really stretch my hands to reach the brake and the throttle and the clutch. So my hands are like this anyway, okay? But what happened was I was sweaty, so my hands slid down the throttle, and as I grabbed, so I could grab the handlebar, because the bike is doing this anyway, I grabbed onto the front brake. Oh, man. And I hit the front brake, and the bike went boom. And that time I couldn't tuck and roll. I actually had to almost throw myself away from the bike. But at that point, and in hindsight, I remember why my knee hurt so much. The bike dropped and it bounced off my medial portion of my knee. And it hit my MCL. And like, are you okay? You okay? And I said, I'm fine. Of course, I'm going to get up because I got to show face, right? My dirty face. And they put the bike up. I said, you know what? I think I'm done for today, because I was limping. Oh, man, I was in pain. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to break, put some ice on this. We'll see how I feel about this after lunchtime. And so we had lunch, and I sat on the bike. I said, let me see how I feel about this. And, I practiced sports medicine for almost 20 years. And I said, if I feel that I can't stand or sit comfortably on this bike, I'm getting off. And I knew when I stood on the bike and when I sat on the bike, I could not sustain another fall. My leg was just in too much pain. My knee was already swollen like this. I said, I'm getting off. I said to Chris, I'll tell you what. why don't I ride pillion, which means you ride on the back of his bike? I said, why don't we ride to over where everybody else is and see what they're doing and make the best of the day? Okay. He said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll do one even better for you. He said, I'll take you through all the exercises you would have done and completed if you had a bike that would have been a little bit more for you, a little bit more sized for you. So we went and we did everything. And I have to tell you people, holy smokes, it was like being on the back of a stunt man. I told him at one point, I was screaming with sheer joy for once instead of screaming with sheer horror and terror. I said, wow, I feel like I'm on the Hollywood set with a stunt man. It was amazing. And at one point we went up this wall, it was like a wall like this, and it was nothing but dirt, gravel, loose gravel, rocks, grooves like this. I actually closed my eyes for about 2-3 seconds because I was like, oh my God, we're going to tip over. But I opened my eyes because I said, no, man, this guy knows what he's doing. Got to the top, what goes up, it's got to come back down. We had a blast and a ball. And so I'm going to show you some of what these guys were doing at the top of the hill.
Well, it's been a day. I fell so many times. I strained my MCL and had to call it a day. Smart move. But however, Chris, my hero and my coach, look at all this dirt on my face, he took me around pillion through the entire course, and we followed the class through every single lesson and exercise, and it was an amazing experience to ride pillion. So I have to say it's been quite the adventure. Rawhide adventures here in California, and we will think about coming back, maybe on a smaller bike, so I can reach the ground. And I just want to say thank you to the entire staff, especially Coach Chris, who was incredible. So just one last look. And I had said goodbye to Benny, my BMW, and we'll ride another day.
So at the end of the day, like I said, we would get together, we'd have a cocktail hour, very civilized, everybody would come together and talk about the day. And after dinner, which I'm telling you, I used to chow down at dinner time, even in Africa, because it was the only meal I really wanted to eat. Fantastic gourmet meals, Rawhide, can't say enough. Oh my God, everybody was amazing, incredible. We have a lot of laughs. It was lots of fun, but we would sit around the fire pit, and I just want to share one of the short outtakes of the conversations that were happening. And these guys are really, really good riders. And might I add, there really weren't young people on this tour. There was only one person who was about 37, and there was one guy who brought his son who was about 18 or 19. Everybody else was around my age and even older, and they were all in pretty doggone good shape. And these guys were doing, a lot of them have been doing this since they're kids, motocross and this and that. But here's what one of them had to say.
I don't do it enough to. Well, if I'd started out the day up there, it would have been a totally different experience. But by the time we got done all the hill climbs and all the loops around and all the walls and all.
Okay, so you never know who you're going to meet when you go out in the world. Okay, so here I am, Sunday night. It's our last dinner. We did have an award ceremony. I'll share that a little bit later. But this one fun fellow walks in, and he was taking a private with Chris on Monday, and his name was John, and he was from London, and he was a business owner, and we got to chit-chatting, and as it turns out, he actually did a ride this past year with Big Mike from Ride Down South, who is Big Mike, my guide when I was in Southern Africa. Can you believe it? What a small world. It was crazy. It was crazy. Big Mike, if you're out there and you're watching this right now, hi. And we took a photo. I sent it to Mike and I said, wow, my God, guess who's here? And it was really amazing. This group of motorcyclists, it's such an inspiring group of people because we all supported one another. We all encouraged one another. Everybody was giving tips. And might I add, okay, while Chris and I were watching everybody going through the sand pit, until we went through, and I was like, oh, this is like Africa. This is nothing. Okay. At least I know how to go through sand. I said to him, they have to stand back a little bit on the bike, not too much, but enough to let the front tire up, and they need to go over there, and speed is going to be their friend. And he said, oh, wow, you really do know sand. I said, I went through the Namibian desert. It's amazing how I survived. But I'm telling you, I said, after this trip, my two guardian angels, they said, forget the Prozac, we want the lithium. So anyways, you have these amazing, wonderful experiences, but everybody kind of said goodbye. There were some of the guys went out on like a 2 or 3 day adventure ride into I think it's the San Bernardino Hills. And I was just waiting around for my Uber. And this is how nice and quiet and peaceful it was when all the motorcycles were gone. And one of the residents of the ranch showed up, and it's a big surprise. It's not who you would think it would be. Let's roll it.
So today we say goodbye to Rawhide. Everybody pulled out, the guys that are going for a ride. And look, there's Harley the cow. She came by because nobody's here. And she is actually in the paddock where I was riding and practicing. So I'm really glad Harley didn't show up while I was on the motorcycle, because I sure wouldn't want to be hitting a cow. And I hear she's really friendly and she likes apples and bananas. Wow, how about that? That's crazy.
Okay, so this particular highway where you're going to see where I was standing for my Uber, it's like something out of a bad B film. You're on the side of this highway actually no one has ever heard of, because it hasn't really been used since the main Highway 5 was constructed, and you can actually see from this particular road. And Chris and I ran down this road on the back of his bike, and it leads to a dead end because they flooded the highway, and they made this what do you call this like dam, yeah. And so I was standing there in the middle of nowhere with my suitcase, hoping the Uber driver wouldn't give up on me, because already 2 Uber drivers had canceled when I guess they saw where they had to pick me up. So this will give you an idea of Southern California. California is a huge state for those who don't know California, but this is what it was like standing on the side of the highway, waiting for hopefully your Uber to pick you up when you have a knee that's this swollen and really limited cell service. So let's take a look.
And so here I am at the Golden State Highway, okay, in the middle of nowhere, Rawhide Ranch. We just came down this hill in the 4x4. I'm waiting for an Uber. Couldn't get an Uber. One canceled, another canceled. Finally, another one is coming. I'm glad I started this early today, but as you can see, I'm in the middle of nowhere. That's Highway 5 all the way down there. And welcome to Southern California. And time to say goodbye to Rawhide Ranch and all those wonderful people. And I wonder where their mailbox is. Jeez, I don't even know if they get mail delivered here. All right, time to go back to South Carolina and say goodbye to Rawhide Ranch. And an authorized BMW school for off-road riding is Rawhide Adventures.
So all being said, the last night, Sunday night, we had this sensational dinner and we had an award ceremony, and it was to award everyone that had finished their course. And this is a sanctioned, certified BMW off-road adventure motorcycle school. So if you can't do all the exercises, they're not going to give you the certificate of completion. And once you finish one certificate, one course, then you can advance to another. Okay. So I was all rah-rah for everybody that got their awards, their certificates. Really nice. They do this really nicely. I can't say enough about Rawhide Adventures. These people were so great, so supportive. Whatever you need, they want you to have the ultimate amazing experience. So, you know, to the owners, the staff, the cook, supports team, the coaches, everybody, my hat's off to you guys. BMW, Rawhide Adventures, they are stellar, okay? So we have these award ceremony. Everybody gets their award. And then it was really nice. And I'm a mush at heart. I cry at everything, believe it or not. They had a special award, and they asked Coach Chris to talk about the award. And it was for tenacity and not giving up. And he talked about how I was afraid because this damn bike was so big, but how we adapted to the situation, which was really almost an impossible situation. And together, Chris and I figured out a way for me to ride this bike. And quite frankly, folks, if I hadn't taken those last 3 hard falls, I would have continued on Sunday afternoon and maybe gotten to the next steps. But, you know, there's only so much you can do. I am 64 years old. It's not an excuse. However, you know, you have to know when to say, okay, I've had enough and we can do this another day. But it touched my heart that not only to be recognized for tenacity and fearlessness and to making the best of a bad situation into something extraordinary and a great experience, but that they supported me. And there was one other person who did, you know, half of the exercises, but didn't complete the whole course. And they gave that person an award and acknowledged that rider as well. And that was really super. And that really showed a brotherhood, a camaraderie, and a community that even though they were BMW, school, they said, we think the best bike for you would be X bike, which is much smaller. And they encouraged me to go and sit on that bike, try that bike at a dealer, because they could figure out then what was the best ride for me and my needs. And isn't that nice? They didn't have to do any of that. So I want to give kudos, highly recommend Rawhide Adventures. They're in Castaic, California, Castaic. Look it up. Castaic. And I want to say thank you very much to everyone at Rawhide. Everybody was amazing. So, okay, I got to the airport, and when I got to the airport, the sky cap took one look at me and he said, "Ma'am, I've got a wheelchair for you." And I said, "No, man, I don't need a wheelchair." He goes, "Lady, you need a wheelchair." And actually, I'm really glad I listened to this man. And Delta, thank goodness for Delta, they coordinated that all my flights through the airports, I would be given a wheelchair. And kudos to Savannah International Airport crew and staff, because they greeted me with the wheelchair and they wheeled me all the way to my car in the parking lot, put my bag in the car, and made sure I was okay to drive. But this is what the scene was at the airport.
Well, here I am at Burbank Airport, and I decided to get the wheelchair because the knee is just not doing all that well. And it's a good thing because there's a 2-hour delay for the morning flights because of fog or something like that. And of course the gate is the last one at the end. So thank you, Delta, for making this happen to me, and they're contacting Atlanta about picking me up with a wheelchair, which is just fine by me because that's a long walk and the knee is really wonky. So the journey continues, but at least I've got a good story to tell about twisting in my knee on an adventure motorcycle, and here I am. Okay, over and out for now.
So I want to say, I came back, opened up the garage door, and before I even turned the engine off of the car, I went over to my fat boy, kissed the tank, hugged the tank, and said, I love you. I love you. I'll never cheat on you again. You were the only short man I've ever been in love with. I missed you. Psycho, I know. Blame it on the knee. However, I want to leave you folks with this. Sometimes the best laid plans don't go the way we want them to. So do we give up? Do we get on the next plane? Do we quit? Or do we try to figure out how to adapt to the situation, make the best of lemons and make lemonade? In my case, hey, let's make Prosecco and work it out and have a fun time and be successful. And the success might not be what you planned. I thought I was going to get on a bike and go hunky-dory and zippy, 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 zippy. And that's not what happened. However, the success was not to break down and cry, not to give up, and just say, it is what it is. Let's make the best of it. Let's have a good time and roll with it. Literally, let's roll with it. So I'm going to leave you with that. Maybe I inspired you, maybe not, to go and do what I did, which is a little nuts. However, maybe you've never ridden a bicycle. Maybe you've never tried to run a mile. Maybe you've never tried to play the violin. Maybe you've never tried to give a speech in front of even 10 people. Whatever it is, just go for it. Just try. Do your research, yes, but know that it's not going to be like this. It might just blow up in your face, and you've just got to assess the situation. You got to breathe, try to relax, absorb it, participate, share the experience with others. And at the end of the day, you're really going to enjoy it and have a good story to tell. So I'm going to leave you with this. Next month, the month of May, I have a very special guest who's going to be on the show. We're going to get a little bit serious for a change. This doctor, hint clue, is brilliant. So amazing, so funny, so witty, so charming. This woman, I don't know when she has the time to sleep, but she's going to come on and talk about health, well-being, longevity from a point of view I'll bet none of you out there have ever looked at, and it's going to make you sit back and think about how you perceive your participation in your well-being and how you want to live the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years of your life. So stay tuned for next month. It's going to be a great show, and it's going to be a launch to special June shows. We're going to be doing 5 shows in June because yours truly is going to Maynooth University outside of Dublin to not only speak, but to MC, host, and be an expert panelist at, are you ready for this? I'll put the eyeglasses on for this. It is the 4th International Digital Health Summer School at Maynooth University. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see the registration form up there. Register if you think you would like to participate. If you're interested in speaking at the event, contact me, yours truly. It's going to be sensational. So there you go. There you have it. And I'm going to leave you with one last beautiful montage reflection video of the summation of my weekend in Castaic, California. Kirsty, take it away.
I bet my name, I sign it clear. What I select decides my worth right here. I walk through noise with borrowed plans, wore borrowed rules like second skin applause.